What's going on, everybody? And today and every other day, I'm Jerry, and I've got my week 2 recap. So you can see here, we've got the teams. I'm going to start doing something real genius. After the week 3 video, I'm going to put this little week 3 thing that you can't see at the bottom of the screen at the top of the screen so you can read it. Genius idea, I know. I'm getting there, and so next week, big changes, big changes. You'll be able to read the thumbnail. Love to see it. Here we go. Let's get into it. So starting off, we had the Vikings-Eagles. I was very much so right about this game. I expected the Eagles to win. I didn't expect it to be as close as it was, but the Vikings did play very similar to the way they did week 1. This video is going to be much faster than the previous week because last week it was a very long video. You guys don't seem to like long videos. So we're going to try to make these shorter. The Vikings had a lot of costly fumbles. I put sloppy offense, no run game. They're going to need some help in the run game. Kareem Hunt just got signed to the Browns, and the running backs are very limited in who's available. You still have playoff Lenny. You still have, Alexander Madison's on the team. We haven't seen what Ty Chandler is yet. A 4.3 speed running back. You'd think they give him more opportunities, especially with how inefficient Alexander Madison is. In the past 3 years, he hasn't averaged more than 3.8 yards a game that whole time. So needs some help there. And then I put Danielle Hunter was the whole defense. He had 3 sacks and 3 TFLs, which pretty much took over the whole defense. The Eagles did not beat them on the pass at all, which is where you would exploit the Vikings' poor DBs. They just ran all over them. Swift had 175 yards on 28 carries. And there it is. Swift is back. Made plays when it counts. Lots of pressure. 10 quarterback hits. So I threw that in there because they put Kirk Cousins under pressure. All the fumbles were not Kirk Cousins, obviously. Kirk Cousins had a great game. We'll see later. I put the league leaders, and he had the best passer rating this week. It was just costly fumbles on the offense that cost them the game. If Justin Jefferson wouldn't have fumbled the ball on the goal line into the end zone, which ends up being called a touchback, very controversial call, but they really win that game because the Eagles score off of that drive and the Vikings end up missing on a score. So that caused a big problem, but there was a lot of pressure on Kirk Cousins. I will say it didn't really affect him very much because, again, he had the best passer rating of the week. He was very efficient. It was just more, that's a positive for the Eagles. That's why I put it over there. And they made plays when it counted. They ended up coming up with the W. They didn't really fumble the ball, and they didn't really turn the ball over. And the Vikings did too much, and that's what cost them the game. And I got that pick right. Again, closer than I thought it would be, but ends up being correct. Same thing for this game, honestly. I put injuries hurt big time. You're missing out David Bakhtiari, who's your best offensive lineman, and Aaron Jones, who's your biggest part of your run game. And A.J. Dillon is still a special running back, but he's still really just that short yardage, can catch out of the backfield sometimes. But that really hurt them big time. So we put Jordan Love. Still looks good. He didn't, he's not looking like he's going to be a superstar. He's not going to be in that upper echelon of top tier quarterbacks. But he's kind of breaching that area where he's just not going to make mistakes. Kind of like I don't know if it's fair to put him in this category, especially with his situation, but like Jimmy G, Brock Purdy, where he's just able to get the ball. I think at this point, Jordan Love could take over for what Brock Purdy was doing and have a lot of success. I think he lost this game because he was without Aaron Jones. His best receivers are only their second year into the NFL, and you got a significant offensive lineman out. So I couldn't convert either. They had a really bad percentage on third down, just converting. So that's very important, and that's part of the reason that you lose games. So Packers, they're still looking good. I've been saying that the Falcons are kind of a underrated team and that we could expect to see a very good season out of them. I don't think they won this because they're some underdog. I think at the end of the day, their team is just a little bit better than the Packers. But moving forward, they're going to be a team to look out for. I pretty much had the Saints as a lock to win their division, but I think the Falcons are definitely going to make their case. I put coming out party, that was mainly for the running backs, mainly Bijan Robinson. Bijan Robinson had his phenomenal game, his breakout game, and he looked like an official NFL running back. everybody kind of expected that he would have a phenomenal rookie year, but there might have been some doubters where, can he do it in the NFL? Yeah, I would hope to think after this game, you don't believe that, because Bijan Mustardson just destroyed the Packers as far as his quick cuts and his little his shiftiness and his power, and like really looks like a top tier back. Algier didn't really show like he did. We still haven't seen the Joker. I'm a big fan, being a Bears fan. Cordero Patterson, Flash. He's going to add a great element to that offense. And just an interesting little touch here. Being a Bears fan, a lot of issues over in Chicago right now. I think it's a crazy thought, but I think the perfect place for Justin Fields, I love him on the Bears, but just projecting way out into the future, I think the perfect place for him is Atlanta. He's from Georgia, born and raised. Went to Georgia for his first year of college. I'm sure he would have loved to play for the Falcons. It just didn't work out. And right now they have Desmond Ridder, who's just kind of doing what they need him to do. I think Arthur Smith and the Falcons coaching staff would probably be able to unlock him better than the Chicago Bears are right now. And you've got Bijan Robinson. I mean, imagine Bijan Robinson, who potentially could be the best running back in the league. I mean, obviously it's very early to say that, but lots of upside, lots of talent. And then you put the best running quarterback in that same room, where Desmond Ritter's kind of been doing some of those things, but I think that offense would be nuts. It would probably be just what Justin Fields needs at this point. And you've got Ryan Pace as the GM over there, who was the GM that drafted Justin Fields. So interesting comment there, but I just wanted to put that out on the interwebs, on the net, because I think that's possible, and I think that's the best place for him. I hate to say that as a Bears fan. I have a Bears jersey in the other room over there. I have Fields jersey, and I love Justin Fields, but I think they're ruining him at this point. Converted when they needed to. Again, they just made plays when they needed to, and they played a clean game. Not really any fumbles, interceptions. Desmond Ridder did what he needed to do, and they ran the ball. The defense played well enough. Ended up with the W. So sorry for that little Fields rant, but I felt that I needed to do that. Next up, we had Colts Texans. I picked the Colts in this one, and I was correct. I really picked them just because I thought Anthony Richardson was playing the best of the rookie quarterbacks. I still believe I'm correct. As I cough here, I think that Gardner Minshew filled in when he, AR5 went into the concussion protocol. I think Gardner Minshew filled in fantastically, and I think is probably one of the best backup quarterbacks in this league. I still think he would start on a number of teams. But I put in there AR5's a budget Josh Allen. That's mainly just because of his recklessness and his ability to run the ball. He puts his head down. Unfortunately, he smacks his head against the ground on his touchdown run, which is what gave him the concussion. But he kind of has that same mindset that Josh Allen has, where he's like, we need to win this game. I'm going to fucking run the ball, and I'm going to fucking win this game, whatever it takes. And it might be an overreaction against the Texans, who are still a young team, but I think that is a very, very, Richardson has a lot of upside moving forward. I think if he can keep it all together, again, I'm just going to keep reminding everybody that people thought that he was going to need a year to get going. And he just put up 31 points. Previous week, I believe they put up 20 or 21 points against the Jaguars, which, if you had a better defense, is probably enough to win. I put on the other side penalties as an issue. There was a lot of penalties on that team. And I think even if they just clean up those penalties, they're going to start beating some better teams. It's tough to just throw this one under the rug just because of all the young talent on the team. But it's also easy to, because they played against a very young team and a team that doesn't really know their defense yet. DeMeco Ryans is his first year. You've got Stroud. You've got, who are the receivers? Well, if you look on the other side, CJ Stroud is loving Nico Collins. You'll see later I put the NFL league leaders. Stroud was slinging that ball. He led the league in receiving yards this year. I think they need to run the ball more. I put in there Pierce lost a step because he had 15 carries for 31 yards. I don't know what the deal is with that. Because he was a very powerful runner. He's very successful. And I think, you look at the bigger picture, and with how successful Nico Collins being that big target to get those receptions, and Stroud having that big target to get those receptions, I think before the season started, we all probably thought that that was going to be Dalton Schultz. Young quarterbacks like to have their tight end to be a kind of a safety net as far as getting the ball to him. And Stroud was just slinging to Nico Collins. He's had a phenomenal year. I'm glad I picked him up in my fantasy. I haven't started him yet, but I kind of picked I picked a lot of the rookie quarterbacks. I picked Thielen too. He hasn't really done anything, but I picked a lot of the rookie quarterbacks, wide receiver ones, because they were being projected in very late rounds. And if Nico Collins is available in your league for whatever reason, I would highly recommend picking him up because he just scores a lot of points. Stroud seems to have a rapport with him. And the reason I put it's weird is because Nico Collins is fairly young too, and it's not like he's had any success in the league. So it's kind of like not really comparable to Puka Nacua, but with how Puka Nacua hasn't done anything in the league yet, and all of a sudden he just breaks out. Gets the opportunity because Kupp isn't there. I think that's kind of what might be happening with the Texans is Stroud is, he needs to throw it to somebody, and he seems most comfortable with Nico Collins. That's just why I put it's weird, because before the season starts, nobody says, oh, CJ Stroud's going to have the most passing yards through 2 weeks, or, Nico Collins is going to be one of the top wide receivers in the league. Nobody's saying that. I put Pierce lost a step just because of the rushing yards. The offensive line, I believe they're still there. I didn't read about any injuries, so I think they're still there. I don't see why Dameon Pierce is having struggles. I hope he picks it back up, and I think he will. I don't think that the Colts is having this dominating run defense either. Caesar. English. So I didn't see Colts having a dominating defensive line either, so I don't really see what the deal is. I put defense needs work just because they need to keep learning. Again, if you score 20 points in a game, if you hold the Colts to 17, you win the game. So I think if the defense can start playing better, they're going to start seeing some wins. Moving on, we got the Seahawks and the Lions. I picked the Lions by mistake. I don't know. I guess I hopped on the Lions hype train. Both teams had very dominant offenses. I kind of thought that the Lions would have the better defense. That was not the case. Seahawks running game was still rough, but they just have so many playmakers on offense that they were able to. Nice. They were able to pull out that win. I put few mistakes because they didn't really make any mistakes, and that was part of their problems week one. And when you don't have many mistakes, the defense made a lot of plays. There's a lot of turnovers that they forced, and when you only win by 6, turnovers are probably the deciding factor in the game, and you see that over on the Lions side. Lions lost the turnover Brownie batter. They lost the turnover battle was the word I was looking for. And they also lost the game. Defense needs improvement just because they're letting up 37 points. It seems like every week they're letting up a lot of points. And I think they're going to continue to. They can be the number one offense in the league. But if they keep letting the other team score 30 points, they might end up with some losses. And it's kind of like what happened in this one. And that's why I also put scary team with the defense. So if the defense figures it out, they're going to be one of the best teams in the NFL because they have one of the most dominant offenses, and they have pieces on defense. Unfortunately, CJ is going to be out for the season, it looks like, which is a big part of helping that defense. So now it's kind of like you look at Aiden Hutchinson. Maybe Jack Campbell can step it up. And, they're just going to need help on that defense. But if that defense can step it up, I mean, we're talking about winning the North. I mean, they'll probably be... I think if that team has a defense, they might be 1 or 2 seed, which you can call it a hot take, but especially with the 49ers and the Eagles and the Cowboys being in the division. But as much as, the 49ers are playing all around, so they probably still be the 1. Cowboys are playing well, but I still haven't seen their offense absolutely dominate. They've played well enough and they've scored a significant amount of points, but that team is still defensively led. The Eagles have kind of lost a step. So if you put the Lions with the defense, I think they could be second behind the 49ers. Again, call it a hot take. We're never really going to see what that is, especially because they don't have a defense. But I'd love to put out a power rankings video, and I might just say fuck it and do it next week because I really want to rank where these teams are at and kind of give myself a better idea of what's going on. But right now, again, I still think at this point I think the Lions won the North, and even though they're 1-1, Packers are 1-1, Bears and Vikings are 0-2. There's only a 1-point division at this point. I think the Lions win it, and their team looks the most promising moving forward. Chargers Titans. I was obviously wrong about this one too. I put the Chargers missed Eckler because their running game was kind of lost, and it hurt them bad. Joshua Kelly still ran the ball all right, but it definitely showed that he needs Eckler for them to have success. Put the defense is dead because Khalil Mack, I think he only recorded one tackle. He is not the same Khalil Mack that he was in Oakland, Vegas, and was he in Vegas at all? I think just Oakland and Chicago. Raiders and Bears. So he's just not the same guy. Joey Bosa had a good week. But again, with all the names, I keep talking about it, all the names that they have on their team, they just can't seem to do it. Brandon Staley is supposed to be this defensive guru, and there Staley is. Staley's got to go. I put it in there. I don't even think this is a hot take. This is a very strong comment to make, and if I was a more notable reporter in media, I would probably get looked at negatively for calling out a coach like this. But because I'm probably going to get like 6 views on this video, I can say Staley's got to go. Because I'm sure if any Chargers fan is watching this video, they probably agree. Because the offense, week in and week out, will put up points, but they'll never put up enough points. The Titans played horrible in their week 1. Tannehill had one of the worst completion percentage through the most interceptions and had a horrible week. And look at what I put. Very efficient quarterback out of Ryan Tannehill. I was calling for his job week 1. I was saying Titans fans are going to be out there. They're going to be calling for Levis and Willis. Tannehillis, Levis, Willis, all the isses. I thought Tannehill was going to be out of a job, but Tannehill just kind of proved himself. Run game was as expected. Derrick Henry just ran the air out of the ball and was able to keep them in the game. And Tannehill made throws when he needed to. He was so efficient this week and was part of the reason that they won. It was definitely a surprise to see the Titans have their passing game as a big reason as to why they won. But when you got the Chargers defense playing like they are, the Titans have one of the best running defense. I think I know why. Maybe it's because you have King Henry in your backfield. When you have to practice against him and the Titans offensive line, who have a great offensive line, it's expected that the defensive line is going to be pretty good. Biggest sleeper on that defensive line to me is Arden Key. That dude plays his heart out and does a phenomenal job. I love Arden Key. Big fan. As the Titans being one of my favorite AFC teams, I love to see it. And it's kind of fun to see a lot of name some people on their defense. I bet you can't name many. But they play well. And in this case, they get the win. Shouldn't have underestimated them, but they ended up getting the dub. And I'll be looking into that moving forward. This was a really easy pick to me. The Raiders definitely got spanked way more than I thought they would. I had a bet on them at plus 17.5, thinking that might be able to do it. It also had Josh Jacobs at plus 40 yards, which I thought was easy. He got -2 yards. So I think next week is going to be a revenge game for Josh Jacobs, just in his life. I ran for -2 yards last week. Oh, we should probably do better than that. What happened to the Raiders, though, is they got down early, and they showed that they can't really get down early because Jimmy G was kind of forced to throw the ball and played sloppy. Davante Adams, we don't know how he's going to be with his injury, but the rest of the receivers weren't really able to step it up like you'd like to see. I believe Hunter Renfrow still only has a couple targets, and he was a very reliable receiver for Carr last year. Although obviously you have Davante Adams, who's going to make big plays, and he's also very reliable. Hunter Renfrow was kind of like that Randall Cobb on the Packers offense, where Renfrow is just on a third down, he's going to convert it for you. So I'd like to see more passes to Renfrow. I don't know what happened to the offensive line and the blocking. I don't know why the Bills were able to shut down the run game. I put defense still needs work. And it was just because they didn't really have a stat-heavy game. Not that you need a stat-heavy game, but it was really just the offense came to play. Josh Allen was probably not happy about his 3 interceptions and his fumble last week. And that was more of the reason as to why they got 38 points. I put on the Ravens side, no pressure. Only 2 quarterback hits on Josh Allen. If you're not pressuring Josh Allen, you're going to have one hell of a time. And then I put on the Buffalo side, came back with fire, played a perfect game. There wasn't really any mistakes, very few amount of penalties. And the only reason I really put that the defense still need works is because the Raiders were able to drive down the field more than you would have liked from the Bills. Obviously, they didn't convert and made some costly mistakes. But I think that defense is going to need some help. Even just Von Miller coming back would probably be huge. But I still think they need some help. Moving forward, trying to make this quick here. Ravens Bengals. I ended up picking the Bengals. I just keep I picked them. Little sneak peek into my predictions video. I picked them again, and it's probably the wrong pick, but the Bengals just naturally aren't good in the beginning of the season. I don't think they're out. I picked them for next week, which is probably a mistake, and I've said this before that I'd like to make my pick contingent on whoever's playing, but I really don't like doing that because that seems like kind of a cop-out, like, oh, I think they'll win if this person wins. But so Joe Burrow, it doesn't sound like he's going to play, but I can't see the Bengals going 0-3. Maybe they do go 0-3. Maybe it happens, but I put Lamar back to form. He was throwing the ball well. He ran the ball well when he needed to. There wasn't any fumbles, interceptions. They just weren't there. I put the Ravens need more pressure because I guess obviously Joe Burrow's injury, his ankle injury, got messed up, aggravated is a good word for it. So obviously that has some effect, but they really didn't get much pressure on the Bengals at all. And I think moving forward against a quarterback that's going to, you're going to need to do that against, like, in the simplest form, I keep referring to this Bears-Buccaneers game, Baker Mayfield, because the Bears didn't get any pressure on him, and he was able to just stand back there and throw it. And when you get even a not great quarterback, if they can just stand back there and throw it, they're going to have success. And I think the Ravens are going to need to step it up if they're going to need to do that. I'll say it again. If Joe Burrow wasn't quite up to snuff, why don't we run the ball more? I don't know who it is. Maybe somebody thinks that Joe Mixon isn't a great running back, but let's give Joe Mixon the ball. He had 13 carries again. I'm not a Bengals fan by any means, but I don't understand, I don't know who's calling the plays over there. Maybe it's Zach Taylor. I don't know what's going on, but why are we not running the ball more? Why is Joe Mixon, who is a great running back, I mean, you could very much so argue that he's a top 10 running back. Why is he getting the ball 13 times? I don't understand that. The crazy momentum shifts from the turnover. Once that happens with Joe Burrow, they really couldn't get back after that. And that was a big turning point in the game and probably the reason the Ravens won. I also need more pressure for the Bengals because sure, it's Lamar Jackson, but if you put him if you put any quarterback under pressure, they're going to be less likely to have success. And it seems to be a common problem. I don't know if it's because I watch the Bears and they can't get any pressure, and they typically have a fairly good run game. Not this year, but I kind of keep with all the teams. I look at that because I feel like getting pressure on the defensive line is very important, as well as having a strong run game to set up the pass. And the Bengals just haven't done that, so we'll have to see moving forward. Chiefs Jaguars, a lot closer game than most people probably expected, and a lot more lower scoring game. I put penalties. I think they had the most penalties this week. The Chiefs, 5 of them being Jawan Taylor. He got benched mid-game, who came from the Jaguars. Now, do we know if he was kind of coming in there like, hey, I know how I can screw up this game. Maybe he was screwing it up for the Chiefs. I'm going to say that's probably not the case. But a lot of costly penalties from him, so I don't know what's going to happen moving forward. If they're just going to make him run a bunch of laps around the field in practice, or how they're going to take care of that. But that was not he's not a veteran by any means. I guess he's played longer than he's still younger. He's kind of in that prime phase, but he didn't look like it with all the penalties he was committing. And I put too close because personally, I think if the Chiefs are going to be this good game, you got Chris Jones back, you got Kelsey back, shouldn't be 17-9. They should have won by more. And that's why I put the offense looks different. The offense isn't playing like they played last year. The whole team is playing down to their competition. Part of the reason why, little spoiler here, if you didn't watch my predictions video, but I put the Bears beating the Chiefs. Now, because I'm recording this video after and hearing about all the horrible things that are happening in 1920 Football Drive, which is where the Bears practice and where everything is held at the Bears. I definitely think the Chiefs are going to win that game now that I see what's going on. But you have to pick some sleepers, and the Chiefs play down to their opponents. And if the Bears can even just slow down Patrick Mahomes, their run game hasn't been strong. And if they can shut down Kelsey, I haven't seen a reliable receiver yet. So I think that team, the Chiefs team, is going to be a beatable team. You've got the Jaguars, who came off to a very slow start, and I think that's why they lost. If they were playing ahead and the Chiefs were playing behind, I think the Jaguars probably would have won this game. You have a costly fumble that allows the Chiefs to take the lead. And then, as I put there, they never really gained traction, and that just kind of seemed like it was it. Maybe you could have had a better meeting at halftime to try to help out those guys, but the Jaguars just couldn't really get it going. Their offense is better than 9 points, and I was wrong about it. I thought, this is the game where I said the Chiefs could end up taking the win if they have Kelce and if they have Chris Jones, but I'm going to pick the Jaguars regardless. I do think they would have won if they didn't have Chris Jones or Travis Kelce, one or the other, but it just ended up being where the Jaguars ended up losing the game. Here's the game I've been talking about. The Buccaneers and the Bears. I'll just make this one quick. Bears have very bad play calling. Unfortunately, there's a lot of shit. I'll say it, shit going on in their locker room, and there's a lot of it's just a mess. It doesn't seem like it's going to go very well, and I don't think now that they're going to beat the Chiefs at all. I put bad execution because on the plays that Justin Fields was given, did not execute well. Alan Williams, the defensive coordinator, who's under a lot of fire right now, was not there. So Eberflus was calling the plays. I'm sure it was difficult being his first week that he called plays, but it's the same system. So he should have known what to do, and the defense did look a little better. But to say the defense looked a little bit better and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Baker Mayfield scored 27 points just is not going to cut it. I put Swiss cheese defense because the defense should not be allowing Baker Mayfield to score 27 points. If they have a couple of the turnovers back, the pick six at the end, the game was 17-20. Bears have the opportunity to drive down the field. Luke Getsy calls 2 screen passes in the same formation to the same side in a row. And that's his problem. The Justin Fields problem is you should probably throw it away, or if you don't see that he's open, you probably can't run with it being that it's a screen, but you should probably not do that. Be a smart football human being and go, oh, we just called that play on the previous play. Should we run that again? Because he made the decision to say, yeah, let's run the same play that we just ran, even though they have Levante David and Shaq Barrett, both on that side, ready to intercept it. And what happened? They intercepted it for a touchdown. Game was over. Looks like a much different game. If the Bears drive down the field and miss a field goal to go to overtime or something, we're probably talking about that game much differently. But because he threw an interception basically in his own end zone, got a big problem there. Quickly running through the Buccaneers. Run game is still very weak, and I think once they play a good team, I think the Vikings have had a very holy defense and the offense makes a lot of mistakes. So not really a good judge of talent. Same thing with the Bears. The Bears are a mess. Buccaneers beat them. Great. The Buccaneers and Baker Mayfield are 2-0. They're going to get humbled pretty quickly. I don't see them having a positive win-loss ratio the rest of the year. Defense made big plays in that pick six. They took advantage of when the Bears called stupid plays and made big mistakes. Vita Vea is an absolute monster. He was at one point, I think in my other video, I said he was pushing Cody Whitehair, Ja'Tyre Carter. That was not the case. It was not Cody Whitehair. He was injured. It was Lucas Patrick. But he would push both of them back. And so their defense still is strong. I wouldn't say it's like a top 5 defense or anything, but it's still a strong defense. And Baker Mayfield, quarterback, made necessary throws when he needed to. And it resulted in the win. Again, I think it could have been a much closer game. Very well could have been an overtime game. If the Bears just drove down the field like they did on that first drive, you're looking at a tie game going to overtime. And could the Bears win? Maybe. Probably not. But at least it would have been possible. This game was also a lot closer than I thought. Puka Nacua, I'm just going to talk about him right away, is playing phenomenal. He's turning into Cooper Kupp. But on the 49ers side, I put CMC is nuts. CMC is dominating that offense, and until somebody finds out how to stop them, the 49ers are going to keep winning games. Their defense is amazing, but showed weaknesses. Their DBs were not able to play against Puka Nacua, who is looking like a great receiver at this point. Tutu Atwell is playing pretty well. So we got a guy named Puka Nacua and Tutu Atwell. What did they do last year? Nothing. What did they do this year so far? Phenomenal. You'll see a cool Puka Nacua stat later in this video, so stay tuned. But that's where I put the defense showed weaknesses. Is they can get the ball thrown on them. So great at stopping the run, even though Kyron Williams did have a good game. Still good at stopping the run, but they need to get better at these passing defense. And that's why I put, is it too close? They only beat the Rams by a touchdown, who, they don't have their best receiver, Puka Nacua could be the best receiver, but a lot of question marks there. And I think we expected more out of the 49ers. And then the Rams on the other side, I put Stafford's back because I couldn't fully tell that after week one. Stafford got a surgery, and he's one of my favorite quarterbacks in the NFL for this reason. I'm sure everybody's seen the clip where he throws out his shoulder and he's like holding it and like hobbling to the huddle, and then he makes it to the huddle and he starts running off the field and he's like, I can't do it. And then he struts himself back out onto the field after a timeout and just throws the touchdown pass, and he's like, I'm dead. My arm's gone. I can't throw any more passes. But they win the game. He's just a beefy, wants to win quarterback, and I love that he's doing well again because I'm a big Matt Stafford fan. So cool to see that they were able to beat. I mean, this is still, I would say this is a win for the Rams because a lot of people, including myself, didn't have a lot of hope for the Rams going into this season, and they only lost to the 49ers by 7 points, and it was a winnable game. That's what I put in there. Winnable game. Like, they very well could have won this game if it wasn't for a couple mistakes. And Aaron Donald, where was he? He only committed like one stat. He didn't do anything. I mean, if Aaron Donald just shuts down the run game a little bit, got a completely different game. So, a lot closer than we expected. Got it right with the 49ers. Not super happy how I got it right. Same with this one. This one I thought was going to be a blowout. The 49ers had to come up with a crazy comeback. Lots of potential if you just look at the second two quarters of that game. And Saquon Barkley's out, so Matt Breida's going to have to take over, and he's going to have to be the guy. I don't know if he can. We don't know how long Saquon Barkley's going to be out. But at the end of the day, they still only won 31-28 against the Cardinals. So you kind of have to look into these following weeks. Are the Giants going to be the team that they were in the second half, or are they going to continue to show flashes of the first half? And then that's why I put on the Cardinals side. Dobbs look kind of nice. I mean, it's a very, very small W for the Cardinals fans, but it's just kind of fun to see because everybody's like they're tanking for the whole year. But Dobbs he's kind of shifty on his little run, and he made some good passes. So I don't really think it means anything for him, but it's at least kind of like with the Bears losing, 14 games last year, 3-14. They still had the excitement of Justin Fields. If you can have Dobb kind of making plays and being in games and making the games entertaining, Cardinals fans might have an exciting year while losing every game this season. That's why I put trying to lose. As I cough my lungs out here. I put trying to lose just because it looks like that's what they're trying to do. When you go up, you have your massive lead at halftime. You think, how are you going to lose this game? Maybe if you're trying to lose. So trying to lose, yep. That's really the simplest form of what this is. I do think that the Cardinals are trying to lose. It's fun to see like little spurts of greatness on that team, but I don't even know if you can call it greatness. Oh, that's not the right button. Greatness isn't really the right word for it. Jets, Cowboys. Jets, I didn't expect them to do much, especially with Rodgers being out. Defense is still good, lacking in this game. Dak was able to sling it and get the ball down the field. Running game was never great, so they still kind of helped with that, but it was still enough. Jets just made too many mistakes on offense, as far as turnovers and penalties, and the defense wasn't playing up to snuff. We kind of expected this to be a closer, lower scoring game just because the offense was the worst in the league on the Jets in this game, and their defense is typically one of the top 5 defenses as well as the Cowboys, and the Cowboys just ended up scoring on them. I put Dak plays it safe because he didn't make any like superstar plays. He didn't make any crazy good, exciting plays. So he was just kind of doing what he needed to do, kind of like I mentioned about Brock Purdy, is you don't really need the greatest quarterback in the league, especially when you have a defense like you do, and some of the receivers and Tony Pollard. I put he isn't a bell cow back because this year he hasn't really shown that he can take over for that Zeke role, and he's having to have other people fill in for him. And I think throughout the season he's going to need that moving forward. He's going to need somebody else to kind of take over the load, and he's not going to be as explosive and as dominant as when he came in last year. But so far it's been enough, and they really just need him to do enough to get the wins, and that's why I put will win if they're ahead, because the Cowboys on defense are able to scheme up blitzes. They're able to be a little bit more ballsy, and then the offense is able to just play it safe and kind of coast through it. Whereas if the Cowboys go down early in a game, I don't see them winning. I don't see, the defense can make as many stops as they do, but then you have Dak Prescott who needs to make a comeback from behind. I just don't see it happening. So I think as long as the Cowboys can get off to some hot starts, they're going to continue to win games. But I think you can mark my words here when I say that once the Cowboys go down in a game, I think it could be a loss, even against a not as talented team. Maybe like the Commanders or the Broncos. I picked the Broncos to win, just trying to instill faith, and they were winning. Kind of blew the lead there. I put Howell balled out because he made that comeback in the second half. He played phenomenal and did what he needed to do. The Commanders shut down their defense, or the Broncos offense. The Commanders did get the running game going early, which I think set up the pass, and I think set up Howell for a successful second half, which I've been mentioning about all teams week in and week out, that if you can set up a good run game, that will open up the pass game. It's such a simple thing, but that's what's happening, and they get the comeback win. Broncos blew the lead. Russ made some costly mistakes. It's still looking a lot like last year, and they kind of just banked on big plays where they, when they scored was just deep throws to receivers and just big plays, and they weren't really able to show that they could put together a solid drive and score. And I think that's why this game was closer than it was, because Commanders are looking good so far this season. Dolphins-Patriots, you got Dolphins just kind of dominated. I was right about it. It was closer than we thought with the Patriots, kind of holding them to it. The Dolphins proved they have a run game. The offense is just dangerous in all facets. Whether you want to throw the ball to Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, or you want to run it with Mostert or whoever ends up playing later, A-Chain. But the defense played well enough. Mac Jones last week was one of the top quarterbacks as far as, well, it was attempts and completions, but he was up there in yards, and he was slinging it, and Dolphins kind of shut him down. And then that's where I put on the Patriots. Everyone kind of played worse. The defense got beat bad for being a Bill Belichick-led defense. You wouldn't really expect that. And the offense wasn't the same as last week. I still think... Nice. I still think they could do better in the run game. You have Ramondre Stevenson and Ezekiel Elliott. They don't really use Zeke that much. When they used him, he has not been relevant, and he has not been good. So I understand it, but the Patriots are going to be very interesting this year, and I don't think they're going to have a very good year. I don't know if Bill Belichick is going to be done, but it's going to be tough for them moving forward. Saints-Panthers. I thought the Saints were going to win this. I still think the Saints will be a 12-plus win team, although Carr played very sloppy this game. Had a lot of costly mistakes, missed some throws, and a lot of problems, and the run game wasn't good. So I put there the defense won the game, and I've got a little text here that's in the background. Don't pay attention to that. That was... I've been doing a lot to try to get these videos out for you guys, whether it be, in breaks at work or on my phone at other events. And I've been trying to do this, and part of it was typing notes in my phone on that little box there that I forgot to delete. So don't pay attention to the ABCs in between the Saints logo there. But aside from that, I got that game right, and their run game was not relevant. Their defense played great and was the reason they won the game, and they only beat the Panthers by 3. Maybe a little bit to worry about. I think once they get Kamara back, that's going to be just add a whole new element as far as passing out of the backfield and just more dominant run game. So I think because he's going to be coming back, I don't think this is too much to worry about, but it definitely showed that Derek Carr is no perfect quarterback. And Michael Thomas kind of had his little breakout game there early on. I think on the first 2 drives, he had 5 or 6 receptions for 70 yards. So he kind of showed that he's all right. He'll be back. Chris Olave's there. And I put Bryce Young played well. He again hasn't had any of these superstar plays. But I think he could if we had more run plays. Why we don't have more run plays from these rookie quarterbacks still, I don't know. They have Chuba Hubbard, who's been good. Miles Sanders has just been okay, but they've both been efficient running the ball. So if we just hand them the ball more, you might win this game. It's only a 3-point game. I don't remember. I don't think that combined they got 20 touches. And sure, if they're playing from behind, whatever it is, these young quarterbacks, they need to have the run game settled in so that can set up the pass. And I put the teams close just because it's closer than I expected. I didn't expect them to be losing by 3 to the Saints. It was much closer than I expected. And Panthers played well. I still think they're going to get a lot of losses this season. It's going to be a low season, But a lot more promise earlier on than I expected. Next up, and finally, we have Browns-Steelers. I picked the Browns to win. Very close game. Started off very rough. Past game, I put as a question mark because we still don't know what it's going to be. Deshaun Watson, when he's ahead, can make good plays, but when he's behind, hasn't looked very good. And I put can't plat from behind. That should be play pretty clearly. That's definitely a typo there. Can't plat. Why would they want to plat from behind? I don't know, but they can't play from behind either. So Jerome Ford had a great showing with the unfortunate injury of Nick Chubb coming out. They just signed Kareem Hunt. So that's going to be interesting to see what happens with that backfield. As of right now, it sounds like Jerome Ford is still going to be the lead back. But you've got Kareem Hunt, who can be in a nice role, who knows that offense. And I also put over their bad turnovers. There's just too many turnovers. That's why they lost the game. The very notable, I can't remember now if it was I think it was a pick six. Like one of the first plays of the game. Yeah, I believe it was a pick six. But they made that big play. It might have been a fumble six, but pick six early on. That got the Steelers going. They're at home. Terrible towels flying. It's tough to play back once you're down like that. And it kind of lets the air out of the sail of the Browns early on. And I think that's why they lost the game, and that's why I put on the Steelers side. Big time defense. The defense showed up. Kenny Pickett didn't really have to do as much as last week. He just really made some big throws to George Pickens, who's going to be a huge target for him. They got hot early, though, and took the lead, and the Browns weren't able to come back. I put Pickens as the wide receiver one. I don't know why people have been saying Deontay Johnson is wide receiver one, because Pickens just has so much talent. And there was talk of maybe some off-the-field issues, but I don't see any of it. And Pickens has been dominating, and I think if Pickens can honestly just Pickett can force the ball to Pickens, I think you're going to see a lot more big plays this season from that duo. So moving forward, I'm 18-14. I had a couple picks that, again, I would have changed. So I think my potential here would have been 12-4 for this week, putting me at 20-12, which would look a lot better. But again, I don't want to pick games based on, if this happens and this happens. So only 18 wins. I think I can do a lot better than this. Week one's always very difficult. But moving forward in the season, I think I should be able to hold a lead. But I'm hoping to just continue to get games right here, because I want to have as much accurate info as possible. And if I can pick games right, that definitely reflects my knowledge and my knowledge. That's all it needs to reflect. So we got the week leaders is just off the screen here. I definitely put it on the screen, but up here is supposed to say week 2 leaders. Doesn't say that. You can just see the little red area. That's okay. Most completion this week was Matt Stafford. He was just slinging the rock all game. Didn't get the win, unfortunately, but went 34 for 55, having the most completions and attempts. Not getting the most passing yards. Stafford only had, I think, 307 passing yards. Stroud was actually leading in passing yards. Had a pretty good pass completion percentage. I want to say he was 30 for 47 or something, which is not great by any means, but for how early he is on his career and the wide receivers surrounding him, a lot of people before the season started probably didn't know any of the names, especially anybody other than Robert Woods. So it's good there. Kirk Cousins getting the loss, but getting the best passer rating. Kirk Cousins it better than anybody could ever Kirk Cousins, and he had a phenomenal week passing, 4 touchdowns, didn't really make many mistakes, but their offense had costly fumbles and lost the game. Most carries was DeAndre Swift, 28 and 175 yards. The Eagles just really ran the rock against the Vikings, and the Vikings couldn't stop it, and the Vikings said, fuck it, we'll just run the ball the whole game. And that's what happened, and they ended up getting the dub. Puka Nacua with 15 receptions. I believe the NFL record's like 20, 21, 22, 23. I think it's Brandon Marshall that holds it. But we'll see over on the other side. The NFL fun facts is Puka Nacua is the first player ever in NFL history to have 10 receptions, 100-plus yards in their two first career starts. I did not put the number 2 in there, but it is in the first 2 starts. So Puka Nacua is just showing off and kind of being the best Cooper Kupp that he could be, while Mike Evans is getting the most receiving yards, a lot because of the poor tackling on the Chicago Bears defense. There was a couple plays where Mike Evans was just able to get more yards because of how poor the tackling was on the defense. Most tackles, I found that this stat really doesn't matter, but it's Quay Walker, the Green Bay Packers, had the most total tackles in 17. Danielle Hunter, who I put was the entire Minnesota Vikings defense, had 3 sacks and 3 TFLs, and nobody else really recorded many stats at all on that team. Bills ended up having the most offensive yards total with 450, and the Cowboys allowed the least with 215 against the Jets. We mentioned earlier the Jets really couldn't get it going. Most takeaways was the Eagles and the Steelers, and we also mentioned that the Eagles, that was kind of the reason that they won the game. Same thing with the Browns. The reason that those two teams in the most takeaways category won the game is strictly because of those takeaways. Those were both one-score games, very close games, and were decided by the turnovers. I already mentioned in the NFL Fun Facts tab the Puka Nacua stat. CJ Stroud currently has the most pass attempts without an interception. Reminder, this is CJ Stroud's first season, so props to him for that. And, you got a new head coach. I love the upside of that Texans, and I love an underdog story, so I guess it's an overreaction to think that's going to happen this year, but it is pretty exciting to see a young quarterback with a first-year head coach, no weapons, and just hoping to have a good defense that's having some success and at least getting a fun fact out, like having the most pass attempts without an interception. So good on Stroud for that. Kind of breaking the mold of the bad Ohio State quarterbacks. And then this one, just kind of like you jab the knife in and then you twist it, and then you twist it back, twist it again. Justin Jefferson has more career receiving yards than any Bears receiver in history. So this is since the Bears were formed in, the Chicago football team was formed in the 1919 season. Justin Jefferson is 24 years old and already has more receiving yards than any receiver in Bears history. This is the end of the video. Thank you for staying this long. I tried to make it quicker. Don't know what time it is, but it seems like I didn't make it any quicker. Thank you for watching. Have a great day. Like, comment, subscribe. Feel free to dislike, but when you dislike, tell me what I did wrong. I'm thinking about doing score predictions. I want to do some power rankings. If you even care about that or want me to know anything about that, would love to hear about it. Give me your feedback. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.